Horizon Zero Dawn is an action-adventure open-world RPG that features, among other things, a red-headed protagonist and robot dinosaurs. You probably knew that, but after visiting Guerrilla Games in Amsterdam last week, playing Horizon for a few hours and speaking to pretty much everyone on the development team, I learned a few other interesting facts about its creation that I thought I'd share. There were lots of internal discussions about how dangerous the robots should be. According to the game's director, Mathis de Jong, honing the challenge of the robots was one of Guerrilla's most difficult tasks. They actually decided against having loads of people riding around on the robots because that'd make them come across as less threatening. The robot types of Striders and Watchers have a symbiotic relationship, and you'll see in the game a lot that there are a number of roles for different machines. Watchers are sentinels by design, but some will fight you once they spot you to buy the herd time to run away, while some will run alongside the herd in order to protect them wherever they go. Others still will call out to combat robots nearby to come and attack you. Certain robots have different behaviours and different patterns dictated by their AI. There's a weather system at work in the game. The advanced cloud rendering system, night cycle and dynamic weather don't necessarily impact the gameplay other than visually, however. The team worked on some prototypes where they would have some lightning strikes that randomly hit enemies or randomly hit the player, but it was eventually taken out as it just felt unfair because you had literally no control over it. Mostly now, the weather system just impairs your vision, like at night and during dust storms when robots can be harder to see.
Why was your brother cast out?
Although the dialogue wheel allows you to respond to different people and situations in a variety of ways, there is no in-game morality system per se, where your reputation with tribes goes up or down depending on certain quests. Narrative director John Gonzalez says the dialogue wheel is designed to be more personal, allowing players to decide how they feel Aloy would respond to things. Basically, they didn't want to gamify the emotional hooks of Horizon, but instead have players make choices on an emotional level. The dialogue wheel is also an information system, allowing people to find out more about the lore of the game without forcing it on everyone else. Designing the robots of Horizon so that they could conceivably be functional was something that the studio put a lot of time into. According to studio art director Jan Bart van Beek, everyone, including the concept designer, was annoyingly, painstakingly, idiotically methodical about it, as they really wanted things to properly work. Inspiration, Jan Bart says, came from a lot of places, from classic Alien designs as to how soft parts and hard exteriors would fold together. According to Jan Bart, the hardest part wasn't necessarily designing the look, as making something look cool on paper is dead easy. It's putting it into motion that makes it harder, and putting it into gameplay is where it gets really hard, as the gameplay has so many requirements as to how things read to the player, if they can see what they've done, if they're getting feedback, and so on. Of all 25 robots that were designed, the Thunderjaw, the T-Rex inspired model, was the most difficult. It took 18 months to nail every part of its design from beginning to end. And that's because it was the very first robot that was designed, and the team knew that if they could make this one work, then they could make the game. But if it didn't work, then the whole concept was kind of flawed. Luckily, they were happy with the end result. The reason a lot of the robots are based on existing animals was because the team felt that it would help players anticipate how they would move and attack. We know that a cat or a tiger behaves in a certain way, so if you see certain postures on the Sabretooth-inspired robot, you'll know instinctively that that's probably an aggressive stance. Studio art director Jan Bart van Beek says that they watched a lot of David Attenborough documentaries for inspiration on that front. Horizon's story calls for an abrupt break in human knowledge, so a challenge from an art perspective was to build up pretty much everything, housing, clothing, tools, from literally nothing again. It takes the team 3 months to design a tribe, starting off with where they live. The first thing the team usually asks themselves is, what do they build their homes from? If they're in a forest, the answer tends to be wood. If they live in a desert, it tends to be mud or stone. And every one of these things, where they live, what they eat, what animals are around, would influence what their culture starts to look like. Aloy's tribe, the Nora for example, were inspired by aspects of Celtic and Nordic culture. The The difference is, however, that in Horizon there are still remnants of the past, so this is sometimes incorporated into costume and character design.
I'm faster on my own.
Narrative director John Gonzalez, who was the lead writer on Fallout New Vegas and the lead narrative designer on Shadow of Mordor, says that they were careful to make a game that didn't make you feel like you were reading a dictionary. The characters all talk as normal, and their dialogue isn't peppered with made-up words and phrases, as the team felt all that would just get in the way of making their world feel relatable. There is a 40-page document on each and every robot design in the game that details everything from what they do and what they look like to what their attack range is, how their AI logic is designed, and what each of their animations does. It takes 2 animators 3 months working full-time to get basic animations in place. But by the time certain things are revised and changed, in general it takes 6 months to complete a robot from start to finish. When designing a robot, the first thing the team does is decide that robot's functionality within its ecosystem. Lead concept artist Miguel Martinez says it's almost like an industrial design process, an engineering study of how this robot is going to work. The example we were shown is the Bellowback, a robot whose function is to store and carry liquid. The team started looking for examples in the animal kingdom, like mosquitoes, but also frogs and certain birds that can inflate their throat as a defense mechanism, as the robot gets kind of inflated before throwing its attacks. And that's good for gameplay, as it gives players a way to anticipate its attacks. It's all about approaching design as problem solving with engineering, taking inspiration from the animal kingdom. Having every design idea rooted in functionality also helps the different departments within development create a more unified vision of how the robots work. From a concept perspective, that's almost like offering solutions to problems that don't exist yet. Design is one thing, but the animators might look to different animals for inspiration when it comes to movement. For the Bellowback, they found clips of emus and kangaroos fighting, and liked how the emu would whip its head around. They used that as inspiration for how Bellowbacks would fling fireballs, and another clip of a kangaroo became the basis for the robot's pin attack animation. Isn't nature awesome? Sound design for the robots is a mix of digital and Foley. It was about coming up with a language for the robots and voices that would reflect their personalities. The crabby shellback, for example, the team saw as an obsessive workaholic grump who would go about their work muttering to themselves. The robot voices are a mix of animal and machine sounds. Wolf howls have been synthesized, as have the voices of the sound designers themselves. They also used the sound of dropping magnets together, which came about almost by accident.
You're hurt. What happened?
Ashley Birch, aka Chloe from Life is Strange, and Tiny Tina from Borderlands, is the voice of Aloy. The development team said that she was able to put some of her own personality into the role.
This Strider is fast!
Gorilla's huge development team, based in Amsterdam, is made up of 30 different nationalities. Gorilla's managing director, Herman Hulst, says that the influx of different talents from different genres, different continents, and different backgrounds really helped create the game and give it a unique voice. The game's Decima engine is being shared with Kojima Productions. Managing director Herman Hulst said that it was energizing for Gorilla to be able to help out Kojima and that it really was just for the greater good of games. He said that it was wonderful for his team to be able to collaborate with people that were just so sharp, but that some of them might have just enjoyed all the trips to Tokyo. Mind you, he still doesn't know who on his team gave Kojima the mouse mat with his face on it, but he's determined to find out in the name of revenge. And there you go. Hopefully you found at least one interesting new fact in this video, and if you did, it'd be lovely if you gave it a thumbs up or even a subscribe. If you want to learn more about Horizon, try clicking on one of the other videos that you can see right now, and stay tuned to more from Eurogamer. Enjoy!